All right. Good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to have us again today. And it's quite a privilege for us to be alive and witness another Thursday. So it's only the living that can partake in our workshop. So since we are alive, we are privileged to be here. So it's a pleasure to have all of us, and I'm happy that we are all healthy and healthy. So let's begin so that we'll be able to round off on time. As our culture has been, we'll start with a brief presentation, which any of us can lead the presentation, but today I'm leading the presentation again. Our topic for this week is Workplace Emergency Response Procedure. So I will share my presentation in less than 10 minutes. After that, our role will be to look at some of the scenarios that we've experienced in the past in our workplace, how we were able to respond to it. So practical examples. So we are going to look at some practical scenarios that we've witnessed in our workplace, how we were able to respond to it. I believe with that, others will be able to learn one or two practical ways of attending to emergencies. So apart from what we learn in the book, practical experience and personal experience goes a long way also to refresh our memory and enlighten others. So I hope you can see my screen.
Yes, sir. We can see your screen.
All right.
Yes, sir. We can see it. Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Today's topic is Workplace Emergency Response Procedure. And so we all know what is emergency first. Emergency is anything that you did not plan for. So it can happen at any place. It can happen in the home, but we are focusing in the workplace. So there are different or many types of emergencies that could occur in the workplace. But we are concentrating on the emergency response procedure. And that simply means the immediate or systematic response that is expected to be given to that unexpected occurrence that happened in the workplace. The immediate and systematic response that we are expected to give to the unexpected occurrence that happened in the workplace. It's immediate because there is no time to waste. It's something that the organization has put in place that immediately this happens, this is the action we are going to take. So there's no room for a waste of time, and there's no room for any delay. So it's an immediate action that needs to be taken. But it is also systematic. It's systematic in the sense that it needs to be coordinated. Because without coordination, more incidents can also result during the response. So it is an immediate and it is also a systematic procedure. So emergency response procedure is not just about responding to an emergency. It's not just about going for a help, but it is about taking systematic, coordinated, and planned steps to ensure that dangerous occurrence is taken care of and is not allowed to degenerate to more incident or more accident. So that is why it is recommended that emergency response procedure have to be written. It needs to be written so that the information can be passed from hand to hand. The information can always be updated, and the information in the response procedure can always be reviewed, updated, as far as the workplace keeps changing. The workplace is not static. There is always going to be changes in the workplace. There could also be changes in the equipment. There could be changes in the procedure of the work. There could also be changes in the equipment, in the technology being used in the workplace. So as these changes are occurring, then the emergency response procedure needs to also be updated to get in line with these changes that is occurring in the workplace. So that is why it's recommended that your emergency response procedure should be written so that you can be able to list or line out the immediate and systematic response that is supposed to be carried out when that unexpected event occurs in the workplace. One of the major things that is required of every employer is to ensure that the workers or the employees are safe in the event of emergency. And you cannot be able to guarantee this if you don't have any emergency response procedure in place. If there is no proper procedure that has been written, that has been put in place, and that has been communicated to the workers on the actions, the immediate actions that they need to take to be able to ensure that that incident is taken care of. So there are different workplace-related emergencies. So we'll just look at some of them, and during our discussion, we can be able to, people or others can be able to point out some of the workplace emergencies that they've encountered in the past. One of them is medical emergencies. Somebody can suddenly get ill. Like where we stay in the Middle East, the summer is coming. So there could be heat stress related incidents. So somebody can suddenly get ill in the workplace and he requires to be taken care of immediately. So that can also be classified as one of the emergencies. Chemical spills in the workplace, that is also an emergency that requires a procedure to be taken care of. Gas leaks in the oil and gas sector and in other petrochemical industries, gas leakage is considered a major emergency that there should be adequate procedure in place to handle it when it occurs. Explosions as well. Equipment malfunctions in the heavy industries that make use of heavy equipment is predicted that there could be a malfunction of any of those equipment. And when that happens, there should be an adequate preparation, adequate procedure in place to ensure that that occurrence is taken care of and not allowed to degenerate to a point that it could take the life of people, or it could damage more equipment or even products. Electrical emergencies. In a situation where there is use of electricity at work, so there is possibility of having an incident related to electricity. There is possibility of having overvoltage. There's possibility of people getting electrocuted. There's also possibility of having power outages. And this power outage can result to other incident occurring. So when such emergency occurs, what are the actions that need to be in place to ensure that the incident is taken care of? So these are all contained in the emergency response procedure, depending on the industry, depending on the activities, and depending on what is going on in that industry. Another one of them is confined space. During activities in the confined space, there could be an incident that requires response, that requires immediate evacuation. So the procedure will capture all the steps, all the details, and all the equipment, the response equipment that is required to take care of that emergency immediately. Work at height also. Work at height incident is another form of workplace-related emergency that requires immediate response. For instance, if somebody is working on the at height and he fall down and he's suspended on a full body harness, there is an immediate need of response. He needs to be rescued and he needs to be lowered. So these are some of the emergencies that occurs in the workplace that requires emergency response procedure. The last but not the least is fire emergency. Fire emergency can occur at any workplace. So when that fire emergency happens, every workplace should have a procedure to ensure that the fire is put out, should have a procedure to ensure that the workers are evacuated away from that fire area. And they should also have a procedure of accounting for all the workers and the employees in that affected area in the event of that emergency. So, like we said, that every workplace needs to have an emergency response procedure. So how do we develop an emergency response procedure? First of all is you have to determine all the conditions or all the workplace-related emergencies that needs to be responded to. If you have identified all the emergencies that could occur in your workplace, that is based on the activities, based on the equipment that are being used, based on the type of materials being used. So you must have identified all the activities, all the type of emergencies that could occur in your workplace. Then you establish a clear chain of command. Chain of command simply refers to who takes charge in the event of emergency, because if there is no clear of command that is established, everybody starts doing everything. Because there is an emergency, because there is chaos, because people are not coordinated, then everybody starts doing things at the same time. And in that event, some items can be left unprotected. Some people could be left without being evacuated. So establishing a clear chain of command will ensure that the right thing is being done and everybody is doing what they are assigned to. So that is what establishing a clear chain of command will help to achieve. So we could have an incident commander, we could have an incident response team leader who will give instructions, who will be there to take charge, who will be there to direct activities and actions so that the response will be systematic and will be streamlined and will not be in a haphazard situation. Okay, then we should establish specific evacuation procedures. So at the time of an incident, we should have a procedure to evacuate people from that affected area. For example, we could have people who could not walk. We could have people who are supposed to use different locations. We could have people who require special assistance in evacuation. So we should establish that system or that procedure of evacuating people, those who require assistance, those who could walk, those who could follow different routes would be properly established. Then we establish a system for accounting for personnel. We should establish a system of accounting for workers in that environment. What this simply means is that during an emergency or after an emergency, we need to know how many people are rescued. We need to know how many people are safe. And that will determine how many people are at work at that particular day. So if we don't have the record of people at work, then it will be very difficult for us to confirm if everybody is safe, if everybody is out of that emergency area. So we should have a system of accounting for every of the workers in that workplace. So we should have a procedure for assisting people with disabilities, those who could not evacuate themselves. We should establish a system to help them. We should then have designated personnel who will shut down critical operating facilities or operations during evacuation. Because when the evacuation is going on, we do not expect anyone to go back to the incident area. It's not allowed for anybody to go back to the incident area. So in our emergency response procedure, we should have people who are designated to take care of certain critical facilities or certain critical equipment during emergency. It doesn't mean that they are supposed to remain there, but they have they are specially trained to ensure that they put off those critical equipment safely and are evacuated safely during that emergency. Then we should have a system in place on how we coordinate with the external emergency response team of the country or the locality where the organization is based. Coordinating with the fire service, the medical team. So we should have a procedure in place. Who calls them? Who is authorized to call the ambulance? Who is authorized to call the fire civil defense? So we should have this all identified in our emergency response procedure. This will help us to ensure that people do not start taking up tasks that is not assigned to them. And it will also help us to ensure that the right tasks are being taken at the right time and by the right person, so that there will be orderliness during emergency response and everything is taken care of at the same time. But if we don't have any written emergency response procedure, and or if the written emergency response procedure is silent in any of these areas, then we know that we could respond to an emergency, but we might not respond to the emergency systematically. So evacuation routes and exits, we should ensure that the exits are clearly marked. So you don't expect people to take the directions where they are not supposed to take during emergency. So we should clearly mark the emergency exit route, and we should have signages directing people towards the assembly point. And if there is emergency light that should be there, then we should properly mark the emergency light, so that if there is power outage, the emergency light will be able to lead the people to the right direction and to the assembly point. So we should ensure that the emergency evacuation route is wide enough to accommodate the number of people we have in our workplace. For instance, if you have a workplace where you have more than 1,000 workers and your emergency evacuation route is very narrow, that simply means people could push each other and people could fall over each other. And that could also create more emergency, create more incident, create more injuries during the evacuation procedure. So we should ensure that we have wide emergency exit routes that will accommodate the number of workers we have in the workplace. And this emergency exit should be clear and unobstructed at all times, and it's not likely to expose workers to additional hazards during the evacuation. For example, during construction activities, the emergency evacuation route could be the direction where there is a excavation or where there is trench excavation. So if somebody is trying to evacuate to go to the assembly point and he falls inside the trench, then it means we have exposed him to additional hazards. So we should ensure that the emergency evacuation route does not expose the workers to additional hazard. Now there should be an assembly area or the assembly point. The assembly point is the area where it's safe, where it's away from the incident area. For example, in the case of fire, the assembly point, you don't bring your assembly point close to where the heat from the burning area will be getting to the people. So the assembly points should be kept far away from the incident area or the fire area. And the assembly point should be wide enough to contain the number of people in that workplace. And the assembly point it must not be one. It could be divided based on sessions, based on locations, or based on buildings. But the most important thing is that part of the emergency response team should be available at those assembly points to ensure proper head count and proper accountability of the workers or people who have been evacuated, including visitors, including the workers and the management staff themselves. So the assembly point should be designated at areas where people would gather after evacuation. Then the assembly point is where we'll take head counts to determine if everybody in that workplace at that particular day are all safe, if they've all been evacuated from the incident area. And the assembly point should also account for non-employees, like the visitors, like the suppliers, like customers, people who have come, who have visited the workplace at that particular day. So we should not be accounting for only the workers. We should also be accounting for our visitors, our customers, and people who came to that workplace on that day. Even people who came for interview, people who are not working in that place. Then the assembly point should be a place where the information about everything that happens, about the incident, will be conveyed to the workers, and they will be given information for further actions. So at the workplace, we expect that the emergency response team will inform the workers or inform the employees of what happened, the reason for the evacuation, the type of incident that has occurred, the actions that are being taken to mitigate the risk, and what next action that is required of the workers. If it was a false alarm, or if the incident area has properly been taken care of, if they can go back to their workplace. So at the assembly point is where all the necessary information about the incident will be conveyed to the workers or the employees, so that everyone is well aware of what has happened and the next line of action to take. So when is it necessary to conduct training about emergency response? Emergency response training should be given to every new employee. When you are hired during the induction, it should contain the emergency response procedure of that workplace. There should also be training on emergency response to fire wardens, to site managers, and to others who have special assigned duties, like first aiders, people who have specially assigned duties that are required, that their skills, their role is required during emergency. So this set of people require special training on emergency response procedure. Also, when there is new equipment, when there is new materials, and when there is new processes are introduced in the workplace, this calls for a new training or a refresher training on the emergency response procedure of the workplace. Because when this new equipment, new materials, or new processes are introduced, it means that the emergency response procedure will be reviewed and updated to accommodate these changes. And when these changes has been implemented or introduced in the response procedure, then the training should be carried out to the workers. The workers should be aware of what changes has been imputed in the emergency response procedure. The employees' emergency response training should also involve checklists and the mapped location. So what is supposed to be checked during emergency? and the location map of the entire site, the directions where you are at the moment, where you are going to, the direction you are supposed to take in the event of emergency. So these are all supposed to be contained in that emergency response training. Then the actions to take during post-incident or post-evacuation. After evacuation has been completed, what are the workers, what are the customers, what are they expected to do after this emergency has been, the evacuation has been completed? Okay, so just like I said from the beginning, that I will do an introduction to this topic using this slide. And what I expect us to do practically is to look at some of the emergencies we've experienced in the past, in our past workplaces, and how we are able to handle it, the type of procedures that we have in place. If our written emergency evacuation procedure we have followed strictly, or if there were some deviations, if there were some actions that we added that we are not even written down in the emergency procedure. So this is what I expect us to discuss with the next minutes we have left. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Johnson. As always, the session was very informative. Thank you for the knowledge. I've also learned a lot. I just want to come in there for the kind of emergency that we've experienced in our site. I work in Raslapan, and one of the emergency that we usually experience is equipment failure. Our work involves steel structure construction. We do steel erections for pipe racks. So most of the times we utilize man lift, this mobile elevated working platform. And this is an equipment which we use around 95% of our activities. So workers are expected to go up and then have access in order to install man lift and in order to install the steel structures and sometimes carry out touch-up painting. So most of the time, we encounter a situation where the man lift fails or stop working while the workers are at height. So this is an emergency, and it often requires us to have a system in place or a plan in place to make sure that these workers, they are rescued and brought to a place of safe in a safe area. So what we do is usually we have a rescue plan in place, which we've developed in accordance with our emergency rescue and preparedness plan. There's a rescue plan precisely for equipment failure. We have some steps that need to be followed in case of an emergency. For example, our workers, the first step is if there is an equipment failure, like man lift, they are supposed to use a manual, an emergency manual override. You know, a man lift has some emergency button which if it stop responding from the bottom, you can override the system to make sure that the workers are brought down safely and they can go out to a safe location. So that is the first action which they are expected to take. So if that does not work, we have a second man lift which is in place, and all these details is captured in our rescue plan. So we have a second man lift which is in place. If the emergency override button does not work, then a second standby man lift will go to that location, and then physically the workers will be transferred from the man lift which is faulty, which is not responding, to this man lift or MEW which is responding, and they can be brought down to a safe location. So that is the second option. The third option is, okay, if also this second man lift has an issue, or for one or two reasons it's not available, and then the third option is to activate the contractor rescue team, which they are always standby. So if it reaches that stage, we will activate the contractor rescue team, and usually they will take like maybe maximum 5 minutes. They are in the location, they will come there. These rope rescue guys, they have their procedure that they will come and then go up and then rescue the guys. So if also these people cannot rescue, the last option is RIC, fire and rescue team, that we need to activate. So these 4 steps we need to follow in sequential order. So if the third step does not work, then we activate the last step, which is bringing forward the RIC, that is Raslafan Fire and Rescue Team, to come and do the rescue. So in that case, when they come, the first of what they are supposed to do is they will access where the IPs are or where the workers are, which is usually inside the man the man lift, and then they will make sure that the workers are stabilized, and then they will carry out their extraction and then bring these workers to a safe location. So from our side, that is an example of how we manage an emergency of equipment failure. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Emmanuel. That is well detailed enough. All right, let's hear from others. We have men here. We have men and the Moody's here. We want to learn from how you manage your own emergencies so that we can add to our own library of wisdom.
So I think I can come in again to explain. I think nobody is.
Mr. David didn't want to talk. He's trying to check his microphone. You are muted. We can't hear you.
Okay, good evening, if I'm not mistaken, and good afternoon to those who are in the central part of the world. Well, the thing is, I'm in the office. It's a very insightful topic, and I would have loved to share our own process, but because I'm in the office, I don't want to disturb the space here.
All right.
And it's really somehow me speaking about, our process outside. So I don't know how my colleagues that share the same space with me here would take it, So that's why I'm not able to speak out now, but I have a lot to have share on the topic, especially just share our own process here, how we manage incidents, different types of incidents that we encounter in our operations.
That's fine. That's fine, Mr. David. I perfectly understand. Anyway, let's hear from others as we learn from others, because there are different emergencies that you don't need to call your company name if you are scared of that. So we just want to understand how easy it is to manage emergencies, because what is written in the book is not always the practical aspect. During emergencies, even the procedure itself might escape you. You might forget some of the process. So I just want to understand if it is like that with everybody. Okay, Mr. Andrew, go ahead.
Yeah, good evening, everyone.
Good
Thank
evening,
you
sir.
for refreshing our memory again. It's really an exciting moment, and emergency procedure that I've participated in the course of working in different companies. Like as you have correctly said, the procedure is there. Then we have been opportune to participate in different emergency in case like health emergency, fire, drill, uh, also work at height, rescue, and other. So, in one, I will take one instance. Like we had a fire drill where uh, the scenario is that a fire occurred and somebody have to put off the fire and we have to evacuate everybody. So the process that we follow is that when someone shouts fire, fire, so immediately everybody is expected to evacuate within a specified time that we have uh, scheduled for the whole process to happen. Usually, in some occasion, 8 minutes. Some occasion we will say 5 minutes. So this before the emergency, the drill will take place. We train the workers just to reflect their but not telling them that there will be an emergency. This also we have to at that moment not just the workers, everyone from the uh, project management to operation, every department, we have to conduct a kind of a training or a campaign, maybe a week before the drill will occur. So on the day of the drill, sound the alarm, then we uh, already position the incident command, control, fire warding, and all that, who we uh, organize people and lead people, and every plan already in place, like the signages, direction to assembly point, the every departmental foreman or supervisor is being identified and tell him what to do when everyone is evacuated. You take the head count and take every record of every one that is being evacuated. Then the alarm goes on and we we coordinate the process, and at the end of the day we observe what went wrong and what we did right, or what are the lapses we observe then, and also we compare the time. Having done that, we have to uh, do the head count as usual, then give all clear signal. After that, everyone return. Then we take the uh, reports, reports, what happened, then what are the lapses, then we take lessons learned, and what can be improved. We put that into perspective. Then what if additional training is required. So in most cases, sometimes we find out that even most of the people who are supposed to champion the emergency procedure, they are very reluctant to evacuate, especially management team. Then during the evacuation, we observe, like, these are the lessons that we learn in most cases. We also observe that there are some workers who are very active and who uh, meets expectation or above expectation. So such people, we identify them and put them in leadership position. So then this in other organizations there may be variations, but in most cases there are similarity. Some in health issue, we had a scenario where we a worker will faint, then how the co-worker will respond, how they will call the emergency, how they will report to the nurse, and how we use stretcher and all of that. So that is just a brief of it. So let me stop here and give room for others to speak. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Andrew. Thank you for your wonderful contribution. Can we hear from others?
Hello, Mr. Obina. Welcome, sir. Yeah, this is Amojade.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, mine. Based on the fact that I came from, I'm working on FM industry. The emergency procedure in my company is quite simple. Just a normal fire. Uh,
Amaja, the network is disturbing your call. Okay. Yeah, it's already out.
Okay. Can I just make an input? I'm so sorry I came late, Obina.
Yeah, go ahead. You're welcome.
All right. So basically, most of the time, emergency response, we always test some particular scenarios, especially only fire medical responses. But we have forgotten about natural disaster. We have also forgotten about civil disturbances. We have also forgotten about, if you are in some clients, you have an active shooter. You know, there are other scenarios that most times, because of the kind of emergency, we are unable to actually test those responses during our planned schedule, maybe annually emergency drill situation. So depending on the organization, depending on the country, depending on the region, the continent you are, apart from the normal emergency response drill, we know fire, medical, and some other stuff, maybe we need to look at other scenarios that we can always test. Some of them might not be doing emergency drills. Some of them can just be tabletop. When I say tabletop, you can just do a training looking at, okay, this scenario, if this happens, what happens? Like most of the time in Middle East, you have a sandstorm, all those scenarios, which will be natural occurrence at the point. Okay, in organizations.
What is happening? Has MTN taken all the data?
I say I should hail everyone in the house. I know I've been away for a very long time, and at least everybody they've said a lot. They've said a lot. I won't be saying anything. I will not be adding anything as everybody has said one or two contributions. But I know for those people who have been consistent, within this platform, I know you would have probably missed my face for some weeks, if not up to a month. But thank God I'm back. I'm back. So
welcome.
please,
Welcome
subsequently,
back, bro.
We
yes,
really miss you.
subsequently, you guys will be hearing from me.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's good to have you back.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Okay. Mr. Eddie and Omojede, sorry for that punishment MTN is giving you guys there.
So I think what he was trying. Okay, you can go on, Mr. Andy. See your hand.
Yeah, I just want to actually add my voice to what the last guy just said about other emergency. It's actually a very good one because we actually need to draw our attention to other aspects of emergency situation. That is why in organization, apart from the general emergency, we have to have maybe a contingency plan in case of there are other emergency that's beyond the normal emergency, like natural occurrence, uh, bomb threat, theft, attack, maybe situation where maybe community crisis or even within the organization. Those can be maybe in case of maybe rioting or civil uh, disturbance, or even within the workers. Those can be situation we can consider as emergency, and what are the measure we need to put in place or how to control such situations. For instance, maybe somebody, two people, one is armed with a gun in the workplace. How do we uh, take care of that situation? Because it's an emergency. Somebody who is having maybe a weapon. How do we uh, de-escalate the issue, not so that it will not result to a case of murder or things like that? I think there are techniques we have to discuss about how do we handle such issue. Maybe in case of disaster, natural disaster in the sense maybe even something that has to do with flooding and all cases of storm, winds, and well, maybe even case of what do you call it now? Uh, is it volcano eruption or so? So things like that. How do we handle it? I think we can throw some light on it. How do we handle such situation?
Yeah, Mr. Eddie, if your network is okay, you can conclude.
Okay. All right. So, okay. So basically, this particular issue has to do with one, the environment you work in. Mostly in the Middle East, I'm not sure using of gun is allowed. But for us, I have the privilege to work. I worked one time inside the U.S. Embassy in Iraq and Afghanistan, which, yes, there were some light approval for people to have guns inside there. And I want to tell you a particular scenario. Someone took a gun from his room and went straight to another person's room and wanted to end it all. Unfortunately for him, while he was going to the room, cameras everywhere. The security guys in the embassy spotted him moving with a gun to another person's room. So they are already towards that direction, intercepted him. He turned and shot himself. Now, what was the issue? Little things can cause. This guy felt that the other guy took his girlfriend inside the embassy. So it was now a big deal. So what am I saying in essence? Such scenarios like that, the embassy itself had that kind of protocol in place, how to handle such issues. What are you going to do if you see someone holding a gun, trying to harass another? First thing and foremost is to activate a response number that was within that location. When you call the response number, those response guys will come straight to that location to try to interfere, because each floor in that location, they have a response person who works 24 hours, who is fully kitted with bulletproof and all that, who can face any person with a gun, and is also trained to do that. But I wouldn't know how that will be handled in situations that you have in an organization that maybe you can have response people. Do they have the right skill to actually tackle someone that has a gun? I wouldn't know all that, but that was the scenario. Then the response people who are skilled to actually handle such situation actually intercepted the guy, but the guy unfortunately shot himself. So those are some of the things organizations should look into, which means that the overall country legal or national law, I don't know how that is handled in such location, but if you work in the Northern America and all that, some of those places is a legal thing. So in organization, they have to have people that can respond to such situations. So that's
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Eddy, for bringing up those emergency scenarios. One thing I observe is it's just few organizations that has safety and security combined. In some organizations, they have safety department and they have a different security department. Now, there are some emergencies that are strictly referred to as security emergencies, okay? And one of those emergencies is like theft, like burglars, like gun-armed men. So those ones are usually referred to as security emergencies. And in my organization, the department is joined, is safety and security joined together. So we are privileged to have all the informations about security-related incidents, and we're able to also have the information and the access to the procedures and how they respond to these emergencies. But in some organizations where safety and security are separated, then their roles are also separated, and the type of emergencies that they are responsible for is also separated. So some of these emergencies are not, in as much as it's not purely safety, but it's also our responsibility to take care of the employee. So whatever is within our ability to ensure that we take care of our workers and keep them safe, then we have to also participate. Now, one of them is training. Training is a very useful tool that when you train somebody, give somebody information, then he will be able to act on that information if something happens. You will be able to use that information wisely, and that information will be able to yield positive results. For example, as the safety department, we might have weather forecast. We might have information of weather forecast for the day or for the week, and disseminating this information to all the workers or maybe the line managers and ensuring that everybody is aware of this. We are arming them with an information that will be able to keep them safe about the weather conditions, flooding, earthquake, and anything that could happen. And we give them proactive information. So that is why I say that training and regular information awareness campaigns is part of the key roles that is expected of us, not just during the emergency, but before the emergency. This can help us to ensure that everybody understands what to do. Because if there is an emergency and some people are going left, others are going right, then it cannot be properly coordinated. We can have more emergencies even during the emergency because of this lack of coordination. So that is why I said that in our own effort, even as the management are doing their own, in our own effort as the health and safety professionals, we should not neglect the impact of training and awareness. It actually does a lot. Some people who are not aware of what could go wrong, just through training, through awareness, they will be enlightened, and that could help to reduce the severity of any emergency.
Yes, I just want to ask, so what are some of the things that we can put in place as an organization? I know in this part of the world there is a very low probability of getting uh, emergencies such like tornado or tsunami and stuff like that. So, assuming that we are working internationally, so what are some of the precautions in-house that we can put in place to make sure that in case of natural disasters, our workers are kept safe? I think if anybody has something, he can try to enlighten us on that.
I was expecting, okay, David is busy. I was expecting some of the guys who has worked in Afghanistan to give us some brief on that, and Indonesia, but David is busy at the moment. So, okay, Andrew, go ahead.
Yes, just to answer the bits of parts of the question is, for instance, if you work in a multinational organization that you bound to work in different parts of the world where you have such disaster, there is uh, a multinational rescue emergency plan set in place, which take care of both local and international, where in case of such incidents, the international emergency response will be activated. For instance, a company that is established in both maybe Afghanistan or in Africa or in there is an international contact which will be activated in case of such emergency that that will involve uh, all the key players. So in such case, if such incidents happen maybe in Afghanistan, the uh, international emergency contact number will be activated, which will communicate with uh, the local place where such incidents happen, and this will be like a kind of a unified system. So that I'm speaking because of where I work currently, they have such a system in place. So it means the headquarters will be notified, and from there they will activate every unit, and in, that also will be cascaded to the company. And if it's a national issue, they make sure that the worker and those that are affected are be taken care of. So that's my own contribution to that.
Okay, Amojede is raising his hand. Amojede, go ahead.
Yes, I just want to say something with regard to this emergency preparedness by organizations. You know, emergency plans and preparedness is dependent on, or the kind of robustness emergency system or emergency plan preparedness we have in our organization is dependent on the risk assessment, what has been done. You just want to look into this other aspect of the discussion. You see, companies, they will want to get involved in having an emergency preparedness plan for things that are more likely, incidents that are more likely to happen in their workplace. Now, if you want to consider uh, raising up emergency plan for every incident, it will not be a feasible thing because it will involve resources. Now, organizations that are likely to be faced with bomb threats, organizations that are likely to be faced with attacks by external agents or enemies, it will be wise that they have these plans in their system, the management system. But if there's nothing of such, if the organization finds that there's nothing of such issues that can arise in the course of their normal operations, I think there's no need to have emergency preparedness for all form of threats or all form of incidents that will happen in the workplace, because it means if you want to do that, you will make it uh, 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 a hectic thing for organizations to have these plans in place. So that's my little contribution for the last point that was made by Mr. Emmanuel. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Eddie, your hand is up. Go ahead.
Okay. So I just want to buttress on what the second speaker said. You know, most times when you work in an environment that you have a lot of unrest, you know, when you do your, apart from your emergency preparedness or response plan, normally in places just like you talked about Afghanistan, you know that place is high war-torn area. So there's always a business continuity plan that will be linked with the local authorities, especially maybe the police, the military, and all that, especially because it's a war-torn area and maybe there could be bomb threats, there could be other scenarios that can actually impact on the operation of the organization. So most times, just like I said, most times those particular scenarios might be difficult for one to actually test, except you want to just do a call test to actually see their response time, especially the local police, you know. But someone in that, maybe the top brass of the police people, they must actually know that, okay, they are going to call, they're going to activate that call to their, maybe their police emergency number and see their response time in case of a true life scenario. How their response and how would they respond to these particular scenarios? Because most times it could be taken out of context, you know. So that's what I just wanted to add to that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, brother. You are very much on point.
Yes, I just want to add something also. I was reading one journal also regarding how some companies in America, they respond to this tornado. So what I got from that is they usually, in their building, they usually have some sort of tornado resistance area inside the building, where maybe if there is a tornado or there is a, you know, this natural disaster, which leads to collapse of building, so workers can access this particular area of the building. It's very resistant, and if there is, the building is collapsing, that particular area will keep them safe. So this is what I got from that article. I just want to share with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The issue of emergency is something that we should always be looking out for it. There is a saying that goes that if you fail to plan, then you have planned to fail. So that is why we have emergency response plan. So we are not, nobody is praying for emergency. Nobody wants to have in short, everybody wants to have zero emergency. We want in our KPI, we want to have 0, 0, 0, 0. But it's part of our duty to ensure that if something goes wrong.
Mr. Obina, what I just,
Go ahead. It went off also. Okay, Mr. David, your hand is up.
All right. Sorry to come back. Yes, my station is clear now. So right. I've been listening to the conversation, very insightful one. Good although I joined halfway, good presentation from you. The first contributor, the person of Mr. Emmanuel, that was a very fantastic one because that basically from Rafashanda is on construction, and I've also witnessed a kind of similar incident back then in Nigeria, Lagos, when we were actually constructing the Dangote fertilizer plant. They had this structural activity where all of a sudden the operator, who is an operator, was multitasking, assisting the erector to tightening some bolts. Then mistakenly the erector and touches one of the buttons, press one of the buttons in the control switch there. And suddenly the man lift basket just moved. And the operator head got smashed on the beam, on an horizontal H-beam. And that was how he lost his life, They activated the emergency response team. Before they could get there, nobody could actually override the machine, to operate the machine. One of the lessons we got from that cherry picker was that it's not just having the operator alone on the platform, the platform basket, but also having someone standby as part of our rescue procedure, in case there is a fault with the main control board in the basket, manly basket, then the person on the ground floor can, manually operate to lower them. That was one control put. Another control, like he rightly mentioned, for them, they use the man lift. They have a standby man lift. So what we do, we lash on to any other man lift that is working in close proximity to where the incident have occurred. I myself have actually used that to rescue a worker when I was in Indonesia, and it was really helpful. Another thing we do then, before they phase out the man ride, man ride, which is using a crane and a man basket, personnel basket, and all of that. So we still have that standby. That was another method we're using. Anyways, that being said, I'm coming to where I am now, just to focus in the oil and gas. So basically for the oil and gas, some of the type of emergency events we envisage in our operations, let me begin with security, because for health and safety, we all know fire, medical, the process are almost like same. But the only different thing here I want to state is the fact that once there is an incident, let's take, for example, maybe a fire incident, it's expected that the first observer or responder should shout, fire, fire, and hit the closest manual call button, all right, just to trigger, to activate an alarm. So once that is activated, those guys in the control room can then activate the electrical alarm, right? And press the safety devices that will help. Maybe, for instance, that will also help to contain the fire, and they can escalate further. So, but generally, for our medical, fire, emergency, we have what we call in our emergency communication flow chart. We have a very key person, all right? We call him the unseen commander. Unseen commander. That's the name they use in the oil and gas.
They call him the on-sea commander. So for any incident whatsoever you see, you are expected to use your radio, walkie-talkie, and just do an attention call, an open call to all. So when you are calling him, it's an open call to all. So everyone with a radio will hear your conversation. We know there is an emergency. So you just need to inform him, all right? Of course, we know the details, just call attention, or maybe on-sea commander. My name is this, mention your discipline. It's also location. We have a situation. This is what is happening. Maybe so passenger slump, or there's a fire emergency in location. Then you tell the situation and how they can get there. Then the on-sea commander will not take it up from there. The on-sea commander would be the person to activate the company's emergency procedure. Okay, so he will alert maybe the team that is expected to go there. For example, if it's a fire emergency, he will then call the attention of the fire team, right? Fire brigade, fire warding, firefighters, call their attention and direct them to the location where we are having that fire emergency. If it's for medical, it will immediately alert the designated fire first aider, and also the occupational health nurse, all right, the paramedics. So he activates them, they go to attend to the issue. So that's for fire and medical. That's how we manage that process. So coming to security, the type of security that we encounter in our operations, one of it is access bridge. All right, access bridge. You can see any person, anybody that is familiar with our operations or activity, it could still just put on the company's coverall and come to the access control points, maybe Jordan is named, like as if he's coming in. You never can tell if that person has a lot of information on how our access control system is managed. It might be able to beat through our access control. And it's a way to checkmate the access control barrier men to see if they are actually vigilant or they are doing their job. So that's one of the security emergency we look at. The second one is militant attack. All right. So for companies that are into oil and gas business, they have a lot of pipeline, they have a lot of facilities, and they have these scavengers who are looking to vandalize, to tap the line and do their bunkering, right? So that's also a security alert or emergency for us. So, but how we manage that is we have a lot of the military security who are on patrol, who monitors those areas, right? So that's how we manage that. We also experience community disturbance, which is very common, civic unrest. Maybe there is a new contractor coming in, and that contractor maybe has not have free to operate, within the facility. Of course, they need to pay what we usually call grant money. You understand? Hey, you've come to work in your father's farm. They need agreement to grease your farm. Yeah. So, excuse me. I'm sorry. I'm just in a web now. So, like as I was saying, so those guys, community disturbance, so when they come, before any operation takes place, it's very important and very key that the contractor goes to have the MOU, right? Memorandum of Understanding with the host community. If they want us to manage our process during the contractual agreement, it's fine, we can manage, but depending on the contract mode. But if they want to manage our process, most cases, the one I've witnessed, it's usually them that manages that process. I don't know why. Our company always push it to them, but our company has a very good relationship with host community, but they always leave that aspect to the contractors. And I think one of the ways to control that is that's why for little projects or things they want to scope for maintenance or repair, they like giving to a community contractor, because it's easy it's them, so they won't have that disturbance, that issue. So that community disturbance is another thing we actually experience, which is very common. I've mentioned the militant attack, right? The militant attack. So for the militant attack, maybe we might just be somewhere and we are hearing there is an attack or maybe a gunshot, bomb or of any sort. So what we usually advise the process is that people don't get panic. If you are within the compound, the facility, just do not get tempted to run outside. Just close your door, shut your windows, and take a safe haven or lie and sleep on the floor. All right. And wait till there is an intermittent alert to alert you that, you are safe. And the way we differentiate it, when we have a weeping alarm on, it keeps sweeping. Like we know that's fire. But for the security, the way we differentiate it is that intermittently, ringing, it rings, it stops, ring, it stops. So these are the type of alarm system that is installed within our facility. So it's quite an interesting one. It's different. So from what Mr. Ima has said, that's how we manage for construction. But these guys, this is how they manage their own emergency situation. So I think I would stop here. Thank you for giving me your attention and the platform to contribute my own little way.
Thank you, Mr. David. It's always a pleasure listening to you, and it improves our horizon. It helps us to visualize and understand what is happening in other industries as well. So thank you very much for that, your wonderful contribution. It's 7:30. Do we have any other contribution? We have to call it a day. So thank you guys for joining today. Mr. Justin, we can see you on the background. Thank you for joining. Jasim, Mr. Jasim, Mr. Andy, Mr. Adetayo, I can see you there also. So thank you guys for joining. It's been a pleasure. So see you guys next week, Thursday.
Yeah, thank you so much, brother. I always join late. Next time I will
Thank
contribute.
you so much. I really appreciate too. Even though I didn't contribute, I really appreciate and I learned a lot. Thank you so much.
I couldn't contribute because I came late. Next time. Thank you, bro.
Yes, brother. Thank you guys for always.
Okay.
Thank you all, and thank you.
Thank you very much. See you next.
Where is Mr. Steve?
Mr. Steve is there. He's on the background.
Mr. Steve Francis, and I'm seeing an old time friend.
Yeah, I spoke before now. I didn't see your break light.
Yeah, good to have you back. Welcome.
Yes.
And Mr.